Hi, I'm Drew Hutchison. You're tuned to Local Bias. We come to you from the studios of Greenfield Community Television at 393 Main Street in Greenfield. And today we're talking about something that I'm passionate about, and that is art and culture and what it means to all of us. And to spread the good news that in Greenfield, of all places, there is an amazing event that occurs on the final Friday of every month, and it's called the Arts Walk from 5 to 8 o'clock. Numerous studios and restaurants, non-traditional venues, share their artwork and often have receptions with the artists and live music. So this is all happening in Greenfield, the final Friday of each month. And to talk about it and whatever else we happen to talk about, Charlotte Treiber of Brooklyn, New York. Welcome to the show, Charlotte.
Thank you.
So first of all, you're from Brooklyn, and you don't sound like you're from Brooklyn, but that's because nobody talks like that anymore, apparently.
Right, only if you're older.
If you're older.
Like 40 plus.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, maybe like as more people like moved there, and you know, like the intermixing of different people from different states.
Right.
It's sort of like even.
So it's still a melting pot to this day. There's stuff going on, people moving in and out all the time.
Yeah, I really don't know though why the accent disappeared.
And now, are your parents from Brooklyn, or how did they get there?
So my mom grew up in Staten Island, so she still has like somewhat of the accent. And then my dad was born in Sweden actually, and he moved to the States when he was like a toddler, and he was in California for a bit. So maybe that's where I get my Valley Girls accent.
That very well may be.
And then they both went to Wesleyan and then moved to New York. I don't know. It's weird because like I don't really know like their full stories. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like I feel like I don't know that much about my own parents. But
is that because you're just so off in your own world? Are you one of those dreamer types that like stuck in your head a lot of times?
Yeah, I'm just like really self-absorbed, so I just like don't really care about, you know, anyone else around me.
So self-absorbed.
Not really.
Don't you have to be kind of in a different place to create art? I mean, it's hard to create great art when you're watching TV. Not that I want you to tune away, by the way. Just keep watching. But there's distractions. And to make art, you have to have like that silent place where there's a vacuum and it gets filled with your imagination, and then you create something. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it for myself as an artist.
Yeah.
And I just want to say this art walk, that this was your idea for Greenfield. You're part of the Madhouse Multi-Arts LLC or whatever on Main Street, the former Nelquit House. And I want to thank you so much because my own art has already been shown in this arts walk.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I got paid to play music last Friday, the last arts walk, which was whichever Friday, was that last Friday? That was.
I don't know, I can't keep track anymore.
The final Friday of the month, or you say the last Friday. I think the final Friday because it's alliterative to have final Friday. So, but your marketing materials say last Friday. So we can just repeat that ad nauseum. People will get it. 5 to 8. So you and your partner, Jackson Williams, get this space on Main Street in Greenfield where you rent out studio space to different types of artists, multidisciplinary arts.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, well, let's do something for Greenfield to help promote artists, because we have artists pouring out of the cracks, but nobody ever knows who they are or sees their work. What was the genesis of that? What made you go, hey, let's do that here?
Yeah, well, so we presented on Madhouse at Green Space Co-work. So we did, you know, a talk there for their monthly business breakdown. And it was actually a suggestion from one of the people there that we do an arts walk, because she was saying that there's one in Coleraine, one in Brattleboro, and like Greenfield doesn't have one. And I think people have tried to start arts walks.
Well, there have been gallery walks before. But the thing is even though I love Greenfield, I don't remember going to any of them.
Yeah.
So somehow they didn't capture my attention, and I support the arts. And so the marketing is one of the parts of doing this. How do you get people to know something they don't know about if they're not tuning into the way that you would reach them? How do you reach them?
Yeah, I think, we do a lot of social media. I think that's like our primary form of advertisement. We'll post on our Instagram and our Facebook, and then we did do this GCTV interview about it recently.
Right.
So I think, you know, people get the info from there, you know, from GCTV, and then we do have flyers up on like the poles on, you know, the intersections in town. And then we also have maps with like a QR code linking to our website in front of the Arts Walk locations. So I think it's, but yeah, it seems like it's mostly been word of mouth.
So when did it start?
Yeah.
When did you start doing this?
I I think maybe May 2022.
Okay. All right. So relatively, it's new still.
It's pretty new.
And have you done any research into how they go? For instance, I used to go to the Brattleboro Gallery Walk every month. And then I stopped going after a while because it was actually too crowded.
Oh, really?
So in a way, it was so successful that I didn't want to go anymore. I mean, finding that sweet zone. But how long does it take to build it? Are you seeing a lot more involvement? Is it growing the way you anticipated?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that more people like hear about it now, but it's like I have to spend so much time at Madhouse because
you're hosting there.
Yeah, because we're also hosting there. So it's like day of, I'm like making sure everyone else is all set, and then I'm like, oh my god, I have like an hour until the Arts Walk, and we have to get Madhouse ready, and then a lot of just like during the Arts Walk, I'm there at Madhouse, and
so I met you when you came by GCTV so you were making the rounds, you got out.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Jackson needs to be staying back there, or Esme, or whomever else is part of your crew. And so are there the three of you that are basically, is she's involved with as marketing, did I understand?
Yeah, she does a lot of like our social media stuff.
Okay. And so you started the Arts Walk in May. When did you guys actually move into this space?
April 2021.
Okay,
so I guess
so a little over a year.
Just over a year after.
And that was Jackson's. He made a proposal to do this as part of his thesis when he was at Hampshire College.
Yeah, it was his. His thesis was the business model.
So how did he suck you into it? I mean, how did he? What was his pitch to you? It's like, hey, let's do this. What was his pitch to you?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we were just friends. Like before I knew about it, there was no real like pitch or anything. It kind of came about like naturally, just us talking about our thesis projects, and it really kind of inspired me, just like his business model and his reason for it. Because as an artist, I feel very like individualist a lot of the time. I'm like, I have to achieve this on my own and like carve my own path and just, somehow make it, in a way that is never really taught to me. And, Jackson was saying like, oh, that's actually kind of a problem. Like there should be more structure and support for artists in a way that there isn't really post-college.
Well, talk about college. In music, the Berklee School of College, Berklee School of Music or whatever they call it, they will teach you the business end. It's not just mastering your instrument. And the handling the business end to me has always been the most frustrating part about art in general, because an artist doesn't give about business. I used to just give away my paintings because my walls are full and I got to get, I need more space so I can do another painting. You want a painting? Here. And so most of my collection are just given away because I couldn't be bothered to sell them. And yet, that then makes it cheap for everybody else. I'm harming other artists that want to sell their work. It's kind of with the musicians that play for free. Oh, wow, you get exposure.
Yeah.
I mean, so this whole mindset that we have of artists starving or just doing it for the love of it, well, that's true, but that's wrong. We need to support the artists financially.
Right.
And so you offer classes on how to market or yourself or how to be part of something more than just doing it on your own. Because your first instinct was, I'm just going to go out there and be original and somehow create great art, and that somehow will reach an audience, and then people. So tell me about the classes. Do you have any classes of that sort?
Yeah, so not yet. I think Jackson's launching something called the Indie Accelerator, which is like a music class for aspiring musicians, and they kind of learn the business end of things and have like a final concert, where the public's invited. So he's like hopefully launching that soon. But right now we just do like art classes. So I did a painting class, and then we have our weekly zine club and paint and pour.
So I saw the paint and pour. What is paint and pour?
So it's basically like it's a 21 plus event, donation based. So we, everyone gets a canvas and paints, and we just there's usually a weekly theme, and we like drink wine and paint. So. Yeah.
But so the pouring is the wine.
Like the pour is the wine, yeah.
I'm thinking like, okay, it's Jackson Pollock and you're supposed to get up there and be pouring, and I'm going, wow, I want to do that.
Yeah, well, we wanted like the alliteration. I guess like pour isn't that specific. Sometimes they call it like paint and sip, but it's kind of like a common, you like drink and paint. So.
Oh, all right. So one of the things I did for years, I had what were called creativity nights. And I would just have my open house, my apartment, wherever I lived, whatever night, that was creativity night, and people would show up and they would do poetry and they would perform music and they would paint. And I liked doing these because I actually didn't like talking to people that much.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of shy. You wouldn't know it, but I am. And so if I was painting, I wouldn't have to necessarily be witty or anything like that. I could paint, and yet there's still activity going on. And it is so nice when you have a bunch of creative people hanging out together, because creative people are weird, and you never know what they're going to come up with, and it's kind of like, wow, I hadn't thought about that, and that's exciting. So how often do you have these paint and pours?
It's every Friday.
Every Friday?
Yeah, it's every Friday. It's been like working though. We have some regulars, and it's sort of like, because, you know, part of it is it's really hard, you know, as someone who's self-employed, like to create like structure. So it's like,
Right.
okay, I want to have something like, you know, every week that I have to commit to, you know, kind of like filling, you know, the calendar with commitments, I think is really important. So it's, you know, part of it is like hold myself accountable. And it's just like a really fun, you know, kind of thing where, you know, we have our regulars and then like new people.
So what
will
time
drop
is it
in.
on Fridays? I actually don't work Friday nights.
It's from 7 to 8:30.
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's really fun.
And of course, any of our viewers, there's I think at least 12 of them that I know
nice.
of, that want to meet me, that haven't met me, you can come by and do some art and meet Drew Hutchison. Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're all invited.
Woohoo, good times. Actually, no, you can only have so many people probably. What if all 12 show up? That might be too crowded.
Yeah, but I don't know, we can always just like sit on the floor, you know,
Okay, well,
just like wing it.
People will make do, okay?
Yeah.
We'll make art and we'll make do.
It's a good one.
Make art and make do.
Yeah, you should write that down.
Well, you know what, you can have it.
Okay.
I'm giving it to you.
Thank
Just like
you.
Final Friday.
It'll be our new slogan.
I think Final Friday works better than like last Friday, but
Yeah,
I'll leave that to you. I mean, obviously, you get to decide. Are you having fun with all this?
Yeah, you know, it definitely gets like a little stressful, I guess. Well, actually, it like doesn't really. I don't know.
What are you talking
I just
about?
felt like that was like a thing to say.
Bum, bum. Here's the minor chord. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Well, you know, there's the neighbors.
Yeah, no, definitely, no. It's nice. I feel like my favorite part of it is just like being able to meet community members and, you know, meet new people and like talk to people and just like make those connections. Like, you know, when you came in,
Right.
And yeah.
And I think that you couldn't eat all of the snacks that we had. There was some snack you couldn't eat.
Oh yeah, the cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm gluten-free. I mean, I ate the cookies anyway.
Okay.
I like break the rule sometimes, but
Well, doesn't in fact,
just for Arts Walk.
Well, the thing is that's an interesting bit about art, though, because some people look at art and they look at something that's abstract and they go, oh, I could have done that. Or anybody could, it looks like a kid did it.
Right.
But the thing is that generally most artists have learned the rules so that then you can break them. If you don't know the rules to begin with, then you're like, for instance, you're teaching technique. Well, you can't teach technique if you don't know technique. Technique has rules, but that doesn't mean that you have to employ all those rules when you create a piece of art. In fact, sometimes you make a statement by doing something wrong. It's like, well, you're supposed to have some negative space there. I filled it all up.
Yeah, I feel like the most interesting paintings, it's like catch your eye because there's like something wrong
That's
or like
right.
something off.
Well, isn't
you
that
know?
kind of with music? We like what is familiar, that sounds like, oh yeah, that's jingly, but there's a hook. There's something that's just a little bit different, and that's what makes it elevate.
It's what like keeps you there. It
That's
makes
right.
you want to like, you know, listen to it more or
That's
look
right.
at it for longer. And I think, you know, that's kind of an issue I have with my own art, or, you know, something I'm trying to accomplish is how can I finish something without solving it? You know, because I'll look at it, right?
But
like
isn't that part of the fun?
yeah, because I'll look at it and be like, oh, there's something off. And then I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's when I should leave it. When,
Right.
you know, it makes me want to like look at it more and more.
Do you flip
know.
your paintings?
I do sometimes, yeah.
I do find that when I'm painting, I paint fast because I just do. But I might put some painting and do a couple layers and then put it on the wall to dry, and then it's there for a year. And I look at it and I walk by it, and then finally it's like, I know what I want to do. But it might take several years before I decide that I'm going to finish a painting because I just don't know. And the thing is, as soon as you start doing something, then you're creating boundaries from what you could be doing. It's like the potential, once you do it, you lose the potential of doing something else.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my thing is like I always have to explore like what could be. So I'm like, oh my God, this looks good, but I have to see what it'll be like if I add this like other thing, and then it'll like get ruined, and then I have to do like a bunch more. And I mean, I feel like I'm definitely like too impatient to do the like, oh, I'll just let it sit for like a year, and then like come back to it. Like I love to just like have it be like, okay, it's done, whatever. But I have thought it's done and like put it in storage and be like, you know what, I'm gonna like add a little bit more without like realizing that I would add more.
Or what about
later.
You're working on a painting and it's not done. In fact, it kind of sucks at that time. And then a friend walks in and says, I got to have that painting. Well, it's not done. I got to have that painting. It's not done. I got to have that. What do you do in that case?
Oh, I would just sell it.
Oh, but you would sell it. See, that's what I should have done. I gave it away.
Yeah, because for me, I feel like...
If they like it, they like it.
Yeah, I'm like at a point in like my art practice where I care more about like selling it than it being like the best thing I could do. Like, I used to be like, oh my God, I have all these like great ideas. Like I have to really execute the idea in like its most perfect form. And now like I feel like I don't really work off like specific ideas anymore. Like I'll start and like it'll turn into things along the way. So it's not as like precious. You know what I mean? I'm not like, oh my God, I have to like express this idea. So now it's just like, oh okay, it just kind of happens.
So in a way, you're less of a perfectionist than you were.
Yeah.
Is that because you're actually more confident in what you're doing?
I think, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's kind of like with music. I became a far, far, far better musician once I developed confidence. But how do you develop the confidence? Well, you just do it. And after a while, you realize, oh, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, you kind of just have to like suffer through the perfectionism, you know what I mean? You kind of have to like do the perfectionism stuff, and then, you'll get more confident because...
Of course, when you're working as an artist, on that medium like a painting, you're doing that yourself. You're not collaborating with other people. And so it really is all on you in a way. You're bringing yourself to it. Do you have your artist friends come by and give suggestions that influence what you might do with a piece of art, or?
Yeah, I mean, not like purposefully, but if I bring them to my studio and like we'll talk about stuff a little bit. And I really do like taking feedback and like making changes based off of that. Like I'm not, I don't have anything against that.
I mean, are you trying to convey anything in particular with your art? When you're making the piece of art, do you have in your mind this means something?
No, it's usually like purely subconscious. So once I'm done, I'll be like, okay, that's what I was thinking about, or like that's what I was expressing. Mm-hmm. But I like to, do like a very subconscious, body moving as fast as the brain process.
Right. I know that for myself, I like to convey emotion. I like people to feel what I was feeling in a way. And also, I like to create a sense of depth by using the way it's always interesting to me how blue recedes and red comes towards us. And so when you work with those colors in combination, you can create movement that's coming towards you and away from you at the same time. I mean, the thing is with painting is it's a two-dimensional surface, and yet you're trying to create depth there that isn't there. So it's always a little bit of an illusion that you're presenting. So you get to decide in a way the tricks that you're going to employ that's going to grab the person's attention or make them think of this or think of that, and yet there's no words, there's no script, and yet you still want to get there with them. So it has to happen on such an intuitive level.
Yeah, I never think about like how it's going to look or how it's going to be received by other people. Like I sort of like operate under the assumption that if it's like true or like a genuine expression of emotion, then it'll automatically be good.
Okay.
So I don't like try to make it look good or anything. but what I do, I have to be like very present and like really engage like my emotions to make sure that it's all sort of genuine and not just like, oh, I'm making this line for the sake of making this line. It's more like, oh, okay, this is like an anger gesture or something, And I think I just trust the process.
Right. It's of course it changes, and I may have a certain feeling, for instance, when I look at a painting, but it's where my head is at a lot of times. So the viewer brings themselves to the artwork, and you may be looking to, okay, this is how I was feeling, but then it's going through the filter of what that person is capable of feeling based upon where they are at that moment. And so sometimes they may see something in it, or generally, that you didn't consciously put there, but it triggered something in them.
Yeah. Yeah, I love like, hearing people's interpretations because I always have like, an interpretation.
Well, some people
like,
are like, oh, I see a penis. It's like there's no penis there.
Yeah, but I think any interpretation is good interpretation because it means like there's something there and people are receiving it differently and it's touching
Well, with
them.
abstract art, people see things, our brains are designed to take disparate data and put it into patterns that make sense to us. So you look at a piece of abstract art, it's like, that doesn't make any sense to me, but then your brain starts, okay, well, I see it, oh, there's a face. Oh, well, it's a happy face. Oh, well, then you kind of build a whole narrative out of just a bunch of, it just seems so amazing to me how the brain constructs a reality.
Yeah, it can be kind of scary too.
It is, well.
Like how badly we want to like turn everything into like patterns and, can become like delusional.
Well, and some people can't handle it. That is, they'll look at it and go, well, I don't get that. But you show them a Velvet Elvis, and they think that's the best piece of work that they've ever seen.
Yeah.
So you have different types of audiences, I suppose, for different types of work. And that's the same thing with music, is that more people listen to country music than listen to jazz. So how does that work in the commercial scene? Do you have to, when you're looking to sell your artwork, do you have to think about, well, my abstract art isn't selling as well as my clown paintings, so maybe I should do some more clown paintings. Does that run across, do you kind of think about your audience as far as them buying your art?
Yeah, I definitely think a lot about sellability, but mostly with like size. Like I used to work, like 6-7 feet paintings, and I'm like, oh my, it's like transportation is like this whole thing, and then like who's realistically like gonna buy this thing? Who has like room for this? So I like to work like smaller, just because it's easy for people to just like take it home and
well, and frankly, if you're marketing your work, sometimes it's like, I'm sorry, but having some mugs with your artwork on it, and some postcards, and some little, some things don't reduce down to size, but not everybody can spend $1,000 or $1,500 or $20,000 or whatever on a piece of art. So you finding that market, the sweet spot where people, well, it's not my best piece, but it's affordable and I can make many copies of it. And it's just like going into a store. They'll have something expensive, but then people buy the little cheap stuff. Yeah. So finding that balance even.
Right.
Is that part of the teaching? Like, oh, you may think about marketing your stuff with, mugs and T-shirts. It's all merchandising. Where does that come in?
Yeah, I don't know. I like sell. We haven't like started like business teaching.
Because you do sell things though.
Oh yeah.
You sold a T-shirt to a friend of mine.
Oh right. The we have like Madhouse like merch, and then I do like prints and stuff. Like I don't normally draw, but I went through like this phase of like drawing just because my studio was so messy and like I didn't feel like cleaning it, and I hate like working in like a messy environment. It was just like
it's like try cooking in a messy kitchen. You got to clean the kitchen first.
Yeah, so it's just like this silly thing where I was like, oh my, I would like open the door and it's like too much to handle, just like cleaning it, just like trash everywhere. So anyway, so I was like, I'm gonna do drawing for a bit. I was like, okay, this is like really sellable because I can make prints. And they could be like really
so
cheap.
So when it comes to pricing though, I've recently made some prints. How do you price a print differently from original piece? Because I think the prints look better sometimes.
Yeah, well, so the prints, like, just based off my drawings, I'd probably sell like a print of a painting for more, but my like 8.5 by 11 prints are like $20.
Okay, but you would sell, okay, all right. See, this is good. This
like
is
just like very cheap, you know what I mean?
Right.
So.
And do you have a following of people that, I have a Charlotte Treiber, is it Treiber?
Treiber. Oh my God.
Treiber.
Yeah. Try
again, lady. Yeah. Okay, Charlotte Treiber. Are there people that say, oh yeah, I have several Charlotte Treibers hanging in my,
Well, I don't know. I don't think people really, I don't have like a name for myself, so I don't think they're like, I have like Charlotte Treiber. It's like a braggy thing because people are like, okay, like I don't know who that is.
But they're going to find out, right?
Yeah, I definitely do have like a couple regulars who will like check in if I have new pieces.
Oh, cool. So patrons in a way.
Yeah.
And that is traditionally how art has been funded. Mm-hmm. You think about, people complain about, the National Foundation of the Arts are getting all these grants. It's like they're getting this much of grants compared to how much we spend on everything else. There should be more funding for arts. And of course, there's the local cultural council that does funding, the Massachusetts Cultural Council. Are you guys working with any programs with that?
No, we haven't like looked into grants, weirdly.
Okay, well that's an opportunity area.
But yeah, we've really been meaning to head to their website and like
And do you have your studio is at the space itself?
Yeah, it's nice because I can really like mess it up.
So how often do you go there and work yourself?
It really depends on the week. Like, I feel like I work in like spurts, so sometimes it'll be like every day, sometimes it'll be like once a week. Sometimes, yeah, I think like once a week, like at the like lower end of things. But sometimes I will be in there like very often.
And because one of the things I was thinking about is like, oh, it'd be great to have a space where there's other artists. But for instance, I like to listen to music when I'm painting. I don't want to bother anyone else with my music. So how do you handle all of that kind of stuff?
We let people play music. I mean, it seems like they haven't really. I mean, sometimes I'll hear like a podcast, like, playing in the hallway, but no one's done any like disruptive.
And I know that you're soundproofing a rehearsal space for
the
musicians.
Basement, yeah. So because we've had a lot of musicians asking like about space and stuff. So we just need like a soundproof section because it would be like too loud and like too much of a disturbance.
Right.
So we're working on that, even though noise travels like so much from the basement. Like you can like it sounds, when someone's walking on the first floor, it like sounds like they're like in the basement basically. So I think we have a long way to go in terms of soundproofing that space. But
well, it's something to work on.
Yeah.
Because so how long? In fact, that's the other thing. So you're from Brooklyn. You went to Hampshire College. Do you live in Greenfield?
Yeah.
You live in Greenfield, work in Greenfield. Well, how long do you anticipate being in Greenfield?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I guess indefinitely because I don't have like a plan.
Okay.
Really
you don't have a master
for like
plan?
the future. Yeah. Yeah. So I think for now I'm going to be here.
So you're still inspired by what's going on right here, right now, and growing it.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's like a lot we still want to do here in Greenfield.
And of course, I'm interviewing you in the beginning part of November, but we never know when shows get repeated or shown in other stations. We don't control that. So let's take a look to next spring. Is there anything on the horizon for next spring? Do you have any this is what we're pushing towards?
We definitely want to like fill up our calendar with classes and more business related classes that sort of teach aspiring musicians and artists how to like market their work and how to really get out there and like show and play. And Arts Walk, we really want to have like bigger things going on, maybe like in the Pushkin, have like bigger shows, like bigger, more exciting events. Because right now we kind of just have like opening receptions at the different locations, but we want to try and have like really sort of more exciting and bigger events happening.
Of course, it's a Friday, which means that Hawks and Reed always has their bigger acts are coming in on Fridays, I bet.
Yeah.
But they have the Wheelhouse, so maybe they would also be, or 10 Forward, or one of these other venues would be also willing to have like an after show that people can go to.
Right.
If they've gone the Arts Walk, give out coupons to, anyway, just.
Yeah, I think 10 Forward did that for at least the first walk where anyone coming in from the walk had like free entrance. So that's kind of cool. And we did kind of a deal with like Hawks and Reed where if people went to one of the like restaurants or bars on the map, then they could get like discounted tickets for the show that night.
Oh, okay. So you're already thinking, see, here I am trying to help you out. You've already thought of it.
Yeah, no, but we definitely like really love suggestions and would want to do more of that because I think it was kind of earlier on in the walks and now we don't do as many of those things anymore.
Well, but there's a time
for
these. Well, and also these things go through phases. They expand and they contract based upon the time of year. I think the one around Thanksgiving usually is a big one because people come to Greenfield, return to Greenfield for Thanksgiving with the family.
Okay, that's good to hear because we were like, should we even have it?
In fact,
it's the day after Thanksgiving.
we met at the board of directors and decided to stay open that night because we know it's going to be a busy night.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yes, but we've run out of time. Not all time, but time for this interview.
Okay.
So thank you so much for coming on the show, Charlotte.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and I'm so appreciative. I actually made money because of you.
Oh, great.
So I owe you. All right. Thank you for tuning in to Local Bias. I'm Drew Hutchison. Enjoy.